In 2011, a moment happened in the world of MotoGP that would become the stuff of legends. Casey Stoner had just crossed the finish line at his home Grand Prix in Phillip Island, securing a dominant win that was nothing short of perfection. He had built a reputation for his blistering pace and precision on the track. But what made this victory stand out? It wasn't just that he had beaten the best riders in the world. No, it was that he did it in a way that left everyone asking, how? How did a man who rarely seemed to care about the politics, the media, or the drama surrounding him consistently achieve greatness when everyone else seemed to falter? Stoner's raw talent on a motorcycle was undeniable, yet his story is not just one of triumph, but of personal demons, mental battles, and a struggle against forces far greater than anything on the track. This is the story of Casey Stoner, a man who conquered the world of MotoGP, but ultimately was conquered by the very sport that made him a legend. Casey Stoner was born in 1985 in Southport, Australia, but he wasn't always destined for the world of MotoGP. His first love was motocross, the wild, unpredictable sport where riders fight gravity on rough, muddy terrain. It was here, on dirt tracks, that Stoner first developed his incredible feel for a motorcycle. By the age of 4, he was already on 2 wheels, racing go-karts and dirt bikes. But it was the thrill of motocross that really grabbed his attention. Motocross provided Stoner with an early foundation, not just in speed, but in bike control. The precision and balance required to race on loose, uneven surfaces taught him how to extract maximum performance from a bike, skills that would later become his trademark on the smooth tarmac of MotoGP. By 14, Stoner was racing in the Australian 125cc Championship, where his talent was undeniable. But it wasn't just the competition that drove him. It was his obsessive desire to win. That raw hunger and work ethic eventually led him to Europe, where the real challenge would begin. Stoner wasn't a kid who dreamed of fame. He dreamed of domination. In 2001, at the age of 16, Casey Stoner took the bold step of moving to Europe to pursue a career in road racing. He left behind the familiar dirt tracks of Australia and made the jump into the fiercely competitive world of the 125cc World Championship. It was a massive leap for a teenager, but it was one that he made with fearless ambition. Stoner's first years in Europe were anything but easy. He struggled in the 125cc class, facing fierce competition from riders who were much more experienced on the international stage. But despite this, his natural speed began to shine through. In 2003, Stoner stepped up to the 250cc class with KTM, and this was where his real potential began to surface. It didn't take long for the motorcycle world to recognize the Australian as a force to be reckoned with. In the 250cc class, Stoner's performances improved year by year. In 2005, he finished third in the championship, a strong result that opened doors for him in the MotoGP paddock. He had learned the hard way, battling in the lower categories, testing his limits on the track, and slowly building his reputation. But it wasn't until 2006 that the MotoGP world would truly take notice of Casey Stoner. In 2006, Stoner made his MotoGP debut with LCR Honda, stepping into the big league with a rookie team. But it didn't take long for Stoner to prove that he belonged at the highest level. Even though he was up against the sport's best, including the likes of Valentino Rossi and Nicky Hayden, Stoner showed that he wasn't intimidated by the challenge. In his first year, he secured a series of solid finishes, with a first podium in the season finale at Valencia. It was a glimpse of what was to come. But Stoner's breakthrough year came in 2007, when he joined Ducati. The Italian team had been struggling in the Premier class for years, and few people expected them to challenge for the title. However, Stoner quickly proved that he was not only the right man for the job, he was the perfect rider for Ducati's unique bike. With his natural riding style and unmatched feel for the bike, Stoner unlocked the potential of the Ducati Desmosedici, and the results were nothing short of extraordinary. That year, Stoner stunned the world by winning the MotoGP World Championship in only his second season with Ducati, dominating the series with 10 wins and a total of 247 points. The Ducati bike, which had previously been seen as a wild and difficult machine to ride, had finally found its match. Stoner had turned the Ducati into a championship-winning machine, and with it, he claimed his first ever MotoGP title. For all of Stoner's brilliance on the track, there was an inner battle that few outside of the paddock knew about. His struggles weren't just physical, they were psychological. After the 2009 season, Stoner's body started betraying him. He was constantly exhausted, barely able to keep up with the grueling schedule of a MotoGP season. It wasn't until after a race in Barcelona, where he nearly collapsed in the paddock, that Stoner realized something was terribly wrong. Doctors couldn't figure it out at first, and it wasn't until later that they discovered Stoner had an intolerance to lactose, which had been affecting his energy levels and his ability to perform. Stoner took time off, traveling to Australia to recuperate. It was a much-needed break, but it wasn't just his body that needed rest, it was his mind. The mental toll of racing was starting to show in ways he never expected. And for a man who had always preferred the quiet and solitude, this period was incredibly difficult. After enduring personal struggles and the mental toll of MotoGP, many believed Casey Stoner's best days were behind him. But in 2011, Stoner made one of the most impressive comebacks the sport had ever seen when he signed with Repsol Honda. The move to Honda was seen by many as a fresh start for Stoner, but it was also a risk. After all, Stoner had already found success with Ducati, taking the 2007 World Championship with the Italian manufacturer. But Stoner's decision to switch teams was driven by the desire for a new challenge and the potential to make another run at the championship. Little did anyone know he was about to dominate in ways no one could have predicted. From the start of the 2011 season, it was clear that Stoner had found the perfect match with Honda. The Honda RC212V was a machine built for balance, precision, and most importantly, speed. Unlike the Ducati, which had been notoriously difficult to handle and often required a very specific riding style, the Honda suited Stoner's natural ability to push the bike to its absolute limits. It was a machine that responded to his every move, allowing him to get the most out of every lap. The 2011 season began with a bang. Stoner kicked things off by winning the season-opening race in Qatar, a victory that set the tone for what was to come. He dominated the entire weekend, winning the race by more than 7 seconds. It was a statement of intent. Casey Stoner was back, and he was determined to claim his second world championship. As the season progressed, Stoner continued to impress. He won 10 of the 18 races in 2011, including key victories in Portugal, France, and a dramatic win at his home Grand Prix in Phillip Island. His ability to extract the best from the Honda was undeniable. Even when rivals like Jorge Lorenzo and Dani Pedrosa mounted their challenges, Stoner's consistency and speed on track set him apart. One of the standout moments of Stoner's 2011 season came during his battle with arch-rival Valentino Rossi. While Rossi had made the move to Ducati, Stoner's superior performance with Honda put the two riders in direct competition for the title. The media loved the contrast. The young Australian, with his calm, unflappable demeanor, and the Italian legend, Rossi, battling to regain his championship form. But it wasn't just the victories that made 2011 so significant for Stoner. It was his unwavering focus and consistency that truly defined the season. Stoner's confidence was at an all-time high, and it showed in his riding. By the time the final race came around in Valencia, Stoner had already and cemented his place as one of MotoGP's greats. The 2011 season proved that Stoner hadn't just been lucky with Ducati in 2007. No, this was the true measure of his talent, a comeback that demonstrated his ability to adapt, overcome, and dominate. It was a reminder that the best riders in the world don't just win when things are easy. They win when they face adversity head-on. But as we all know, even the greatest careers come to an end. In 2012, despite still being one of the fastest riders on the grid, Stoner announced that he would retire from MotoGP at the end of the season. It wasn't a decision based on injury or lack of success. No, Stoner retired because his relationship with the sport had fundamentally changed. The introduction of CRT bikes, the commercialization of the sport, and a deepening sense of mental fatigue led him to step away. It was a decision many fans struggled to understand, but it was the right one for Stoner. Stoner's departure from MotoGP was a bittersweet moment for the sport. It was a recognition that sometimes even the most talented athletes need to step away. For Stoner, it wasn't just about riding. It was about his health, his happiness, and his peace of mind. Today, Casey Stoner is remembered not only for his raw speed and remarkable achievements, but for his incredible mental strength to fight through adversity. His career was a roller coaster, full of highs and lows, victories and frustrations, but he left an indelible mark on the sport. Casey Stoner may not have been as outspoken or as flashy as some of his contemporaries, but in his quiet, relentless pursuit of perfection. So, when we talk about talent in MotoGP, we often think of sheer speed. But talent isn't just about how fast you can go. It's about how you overcome obstacles, how you persevere through the toughest times, and how you find your own path in a world full of competition. And Casey Stoner, well, he did all of that.